In another life, I loved you. And it was love we wove between us long before we built a home inside that word. It was late summer when it started, not much more than kids, but old enough to know that soon there would be hunger. Even when the land was lush with wet, bright heat, our bones knew the coming cold. How once the sun was gone, we'd be left with the teeth clamp of dark winter, with the shivers of not knowing when warmth would return. In the scorch of sun, I gorged on berries while I could, scoured every thorn snarl of the woods. I devoured their tongue-sharp sweetness, my mouth a mess of smeared fruit, flesh and blood. There was enough for everyone that summer. And it was a surreal, unknown decadence to not have to share. My arms were webbed with bramble bites, but the wounds were worth it. I bore them with pride. I was proud of being able to meet my appetite. From the stream where I went to wash, I saw you, slinking away from camp, and in the death throes of that summer, I started to wait and to watch the burn of your red hair on my retinas as you disappeared into the forest with a furtive, backwards glance. It was coming up to haustoblot, the autumn equinox. Back at camp, they were preparing for that night's sacrifice, both of us with duties we'd forsaken. We slipped feral into our own world. At the river, the ice kiss of bubbles sent my skin numb, and when I saw you vanish into the woods that day, I knew without deciding our time had come. From cool shadows, I watched you gather what you needed. I stalked you like prey for a long afternoon while you collected wild garlic, sweet violet, dandelion, mushrooms. Later, you lay down to doze in a sun puddle of moss and left your own offering back to the woods after wanking lazily when you woke. By then, the sun was a low, syrupy red. Everything at once heightened, muffled, like we'd crossed into another realm. The trees hissed in the breeze. On a branch, a blackbird cawed. It was warm. You'd slipped behind a tree, then disappeared. I dogged your steps, but you were nowhere, spooking into nothingness, and I scoured the clearing, scowling, lost until the sudden slam of your body crashed me down. It circled back and tackled us into the undergrowth. I fought you off, and afterwards you cackled, claiming you'd known I was behind you all along. It was the first stitch in the tapestry that we went on to weave, each story exchanged on the walk back to camp, another loop of thread. By the time we were there, so was our long-lost sibling sense of finding something we didn't know we'd missed. That night, the elders built the fires, spilt the blood, burnt the bones. Little rituals to guard us through the long dark until the sun returned. Through a haze of smoke, I found your face in the circle, round the blaze, fire licking your hair and your eyes with their wild, foxy gleam, an unspoken transmission saying between this equinox and next it was more than the planets that would shift. Hey, hey. Months slip sideways. Frost glittered the ground, beautiful but hard. By then, we'd bonded enough to go together into the snow, side by side. We tramped through a soft dazzle of white, cursed our frost-chomped toes. You could hunt, you begrudged it, but you had the skill. You had the peace and focus for it, a chance to read the tracks in the ground that told you where to lay the traps. I was better with the fires. They warmed our makeshift camps each night, then when their embers cooled, we puppy piled under furs to the stars to share our body heat. I knew the constellations, and you knew all their myths. Sometimes our nights were a cozy whisper, and on others we howled with laughter, or later, sometimes with grief. The witch fog-shadowed forest gobbled up our howls. Other times the caves or mountains sent our cackles curling back to us, ghostly echoes of ourselves to make us less alone. You teased contentment from me, like you set the snares. A skill so meticulous you made it look slapdash. I learned the lines of your shoulders from sleeping curled around your spine. I learned all your numbers, counted every freckle, every eyelash, every scar. Counted down our rations until our next big kill. Even that first winter, we never went hungry. The critters hibernated in their dens. It was too late to raid nests for eggs, but other, bigger beasts still snuffled through the woods. You set the traps, left it at that. I could do the gutting. My knife was sure and sharp, fur and flesh and bone and heart. You prayed for forgiveness, and I said a better tribute would be gratitude. Made us a feast to fortify us before we dragged the rest back. It was coming up to solstice and you were plotting. Said if the skies stayed clear, you'd use the stars and sun to guide us somewhere, even though we had no map. Over time, we found other lovers, but our bond stayed something more. The thing we had between us went deeper than desire. We had our experiments. Early on, when we'd share our bodies with each other for fun or comfort or defiance, and you'd had your own experiments, forays into the sorcery you'd known since being young, when you said you were always in trouble for knowing things without being told what you said. Our connection was the tether that let you go deeper, to learn and practice other things. Like that long night, early on, when you claim you'd worked out how to bring time to its knees. You're talking bollocks, I told you. But you said no. Revna, I promise. I know how to do it. Revna, look at this. Your face was distorted in the smoke haze of the fire, and since dark we'd been on that mushroom tea that tasted like the water from a haunted stagnant pond, but we swallowed down like mead. You held your palms out, like cupping something precious, and in them I saw the lightning crackle of a tiny thunderstorm. I stared into that impossible vortex, and then into your eyes. Your irises, two more impossible cosmic swirls. You clapped, and then your hands were empty. There we go, love, it's done, you said. This hour won't end until I set time spinning on again. Bollocks, I said again. But I knew I hadn't imagined that soft light between your palms. We were high, fine, but I remember the night and it felt infinite. I remember time felt like something we slipped free from, like our furs. I remember your hands. We worshipped each other like we worshipped our gods, like we worshipped with the others on certain nights, like how the skeletons of trees in the darkest parts of the woods gave us their soft, rot blessing as we made our offerings to the fires, your gleam of pride. See me up to my elbows in blood from each ritual sacrifice with the others. We shared our chanting, dancing, magic, trances, drums, and you had one you loved harder and deeper than the rest, and I remember the way it softened me to see you look at him with your wolf grin of hot joy and lust. It was haustoblot again. When we mixed ashes and water to paint our skin with ruins, and in the sacred psychedelic chaos of those nights, they got melted off by body heat, smudged into a fingerprint blurred mess that became their own symbol of power. In another life, I loved you. And it was love we found and made between us long before we built a home inside that word. Our pack started just us, but in time the bond that knotted us together tangled others in its web. Your other love, then mine. Between us, we never questioned whether anyone should give anything up. We'd started our lives starved of love. But later, the fates compensated by giving us a banquet. It was unthinkable to turn away, to return to famine or scraps. We gorged ourselves on love and pleasure, a feast enough to feed a family, and that's what we became, the four of us. And then the pups, the feral babes, we conspired with the others to bring falling into the world. Fatherhood made you more mischievous. And although my body didn't birth them, I loved the babies with the same raw, heart-ripping sweetness as their other mother. Between the four of them and us, we had love enough to bring time to its knees. And maybe it did, because I feel it still. Thunderstorm still crackling after all these centuries.
Early